Wait a second. Didn't we just see this last week? 2 weeks ago? Last year? The Guardians and Tigers got to be sick of each other, but we have to talk about who has the edge in the wild card series.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome on into a special crossover edition of Locked On Guardians, Locked On Tigers to get you ready for another round of Tigers Guardians, of course. I'm Justin Latta. I have been here at the Locked On Podcast Network for 3 years now, and I've spent 18 years covering the Guardians minor league system. And today with me, breaking down the matchup for this wildcard series, is the host of Locked On Tigers, Scott Bentley. All right, Scott, how you feeling?
I mean, not great, but I'm sure that that is going to be celebrated in your fan base. That I don't feel great, but yeah, I mean, it has obviously been a terrible September, but we're here for like you just mentioned, this is the third series in like 2 weeks that these two teams will go up against each other at, and y'all have home field, and we'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk series predictions on today's show. We'll talk about each team's weaknesses and how they can be exploited. We'll talk about the strengths and how they're going to rely on those strengths for each team. Before we jump into all the good stuff today to get you ready for today's wildcard battle, today's episode of Locked On Guardians and Locked On Tigers is brought to you by FanDuel. If you're a new customer, you can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. I got to think these two teams are sick of each other. What I thought was really funny was on Sunday, like, I don't want to say neither team cared, Scott, but it felt like neither team was too worried about, well, we'll play in Detroit, we'll play in Cleveland, it doesn't matter. We just both want our players rested. We both want our aces ready to go on Tuesday. They were like, if we win the division, that's great, and if we don't, we'll be ready for Tuesday. Like, it was such a weird day for both teams.
Yeah, we certainly didn't care. I don't want to speak as much for y'all. I mean, you guys still put up 9 runs. I mean, that was, half of the Tigers lineup on Sunday was guys who have spent a majority of the season in AAA. Like, it was just a complete punt. AJ pinch hits more than any other manager in all of baseball. He did not pinch hit one time on Sunday. I mean, they were the guys that were on the bench were not even in uniform. Like, they were like in t-shirts and shorts. Like, they were like, you are not playing no matter what. So yeah, Chris Paddock, who has like a 6 ERA and hasn't started a game in a month, was the starter for that one. Like, they completely were like, oh yeah, to your point. I mean, that's kind of what they said too. Like, they were like, yeah, we still think we can win with this team. We're going to try, but if not, who really cares?
Yeah, that was the Guardian. I mean, Jose played, but he DH'd, and they did some pitch hitting, but yeah, it wasn't, and that was a ridiculous comeback for them to win the way they did. But it was funny that the way they came back, it was they already knew the Tigers lost. They clinched the division. They still tried to win at the end. So I guess the Guardians maybe cared a little bit more than than the Tigers, or more than I thought. But both teams, made sure that certain relievers didn't pitch, certain starters didn't pitch, and certain guys got at least half days off. So that brings us to the strengths of each team. And if I'm pressed to make a choice for the Guardians for strength, it's just, they just don't say die. Like, I don't know if I can point to one section of the team and be like, this is clearly the strength of the team. Like, this is what you got to watch out for, because there's Jose Ramirez, and there's Cade Smith. The starting rotation was really good over the last month. It wasn't good last year in this playoff series, obviously, and it wasn't good for a lot of the season, but over the last month, the starting rotation has been very good. So if I'm pressed to say there's a strength for Cleveland, it's starting rotation. It's Jose Ramirez, and it's Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith, and I guess Eric Sabrowski is part of that at this moment. But the strength is just that they keep winning, and nobody knows how. That's the strength. Nobody knows how they're doing it.
Guards ball is what I keep seeing online.
Yeah.
Is what we've been, peppered with on social media in Detroit here for a couple weeks now. Yeah, I mean, I can tell you this entire city is terrified of J-Ram. Like, and honestly, and Stephen Kwan. Like, anytime either of them step in the batter's box, it is immediate, like, not only just like, oh, I'm a little scared, like it's like we're petrified. So that is going to be, from our perspective, your strengths is that you have a player of J-Ram caliber, and really on the offensive side of the ball, at least for all intents and purposes, the Tigers don't. And in a series that is only 3 games at most, that could obviously end up being a big difference maker. And then, Quan is a table setter, seems to have like 1,000 OPS against the Tigers. I don't even know if that's real, but it feels like every time we face Stephen Quan and J Ram, they just do everything. And I mean, that's it. And like you mentioned, the starting rotation, the Tigers number. I don't even know if the Tigers have an earned run off of Gavin Williams yet this season, and they faced him like 3 times. Like he has absolutely dominated. Bybee has absolutely dominated the Tigers. I think that ERA is under 1 this season. So I mean, you have a great bullpen. You have starting pitchers that have dominated the Tigers, and you have at least one hitter that is probably
just one. Just one.
Right. Well, I was going to say one hitter that is the best hitter in the series. But it's from our perspective, again, there's a fear factor in there. I think the strengths for the Tigers, I mean, right now you could argue start and end with just Tarik Skubal gets to pitch one of these games. And that is something, we talk about the J-Ram with y'all, like we don't have a player of that caliber on the offensive side of the ball. Well, I mean, there's an argument nobody outside of maybe the Pirates has a pitcher of, Skubal caliber that we can throw out there for a playoff game. And obviously, Skubal last season pitched a massive 2 games in that ALDS, and obviously David Fry, the big grand slam. Up until then, he had, I think, 1 or 0 earned runs against the Guardians in the postseason. This year, his ERA is under 1 against Cleveland on the season. I mean, he's, probably, I would say, going to win Cy Young for the 2nd year in a row. He's fully rested, on normal rest and whatnot. I think that's I don't want to say it. Like, I don't want to be too pessimistic, but like the Tigers have 3 wins in their last 3 weeks. Like I'm not exactly oozing with confidence here. But the fact that they can throw out, a pitcher of Tarik Skubal's caliber in game 1, it'll be Williams against Skubal is something that not too many teams can match. So that and then like legitimately the other strength is just everybody's 0-0. Like I can say like something corny like that. You know what I mean? Like oh,
not even footing. Yeah,
pass behind you. Like that's what the the front office and what Tigers management has really been driving home is like, oh, everybody has the same record. It's the postseason. It's a clean slate, and like all this, all these hyperboles about how we should have, regain the faith and whatnot, and like teams have slid into the postseason and then gone on runs before, and like that's all true. So I guess that's what we're hanging our hat on is just like it's not the regular season anymore, and you hope that you can go back to how they were playing for the first 4 months of the season.
Yeah, I mean September doesn't matter for either team. The Guardians were the best team in baseball in September. The Tigers were one of the worst, if not outside of the teams.
They had to have been the worst.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the Rockies. No one's the Rockies. We can punch down on the Rockies, I guess, over here a little bit if there's anything we can do.
Right?
Even though they draw better attendance than the Guardians somehow, but Guardians still had a good year attendance wise. Yeah, you're right. I mean, both teams have to throw out September. They have to start over, and I mean, Tarik Skubal for sure is the best pitcher in this series, and that's the hard part for Cleveland is that they haven't beaten him, but the last 2 times out, they've won the game when he's pitched.
Right.
And when does your luck run out against that? You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to try to hike a ball through his legs twice.
I don't even want to talk about it. That was the most ridiculous inning of baseball I've ever seen in my life. And not even like, you got like,
it just was.
I think the Guardians create their own like luck. I think they're a very talented team, and I think that Tarik Skubal, did himself just 0 favors that entire inning.
He's no Bartolo Colon. Bartolo Colon can pull that flip off. But you get to start Tarik Skubal in game one. And if you win game one, that puts you in the driver's seat because, it's a short series. And that's what happened to the Astros last year. So we know what the Guardians and the Tigers' strengths are. It's very clear. Weaknesses, well, these both teams have shown their weaknesses throughout the year. We'll talk about those on the rest of today's crossover edition of Locked On Guardians, Locked On Tigers. Stay tuned. You know what? All of our hair is going to be falling out in the month of October. If it already wasn't in September, if you're a Guardians or Tigers fan, and you've probably seen a lot of ads for hair growth products and thought, I'm sure that actually works. And I know there's a lot of products out there. It's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. And that's why we think you should give Nutrafol a closer look. It is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand that is trusted by over 1.5 million people. And now Nutrafol is the official hair growth partner of Major League Baseball. You can feel good about that. You can feel great about what you're putting in your body since Nutrafol hair growth supplements are backed by peer-reviewed and NSF content certified, the gold standard in third-party certification supplements. You definitely want to trust the science on this one so you can feel comfortable about how you're growing your hair back, how you're doing better, and you're not, exactly what you're putting in and on your body. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth product supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Whether you're a Guardians fan or a Tigers fan, you know that we are here as part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. We're covering the Guardians, we're covering the Tigers, and you can hit the bell on YouTube so you make sure you get all these episodes, whether it's a regular episode of Locked On Tigers or any reaction videos. You can hit the bell on YouTube for Locked On Guardians to get this episode, plus an extra episode on Tuesday before the wild card game, and also our reaction videos, previews, all that kind of good stuff. And auto download an audio, so you're always getting the latest episode into your feed wherever you listen to podcasts. Weaknesses. Oh boy. Well, where do we start for the Guardians? Everybody not named Jose Ramirez. I mean, you mentioned everyone's afraid of Steven Kwan. I got to be honest, Steven Kwan had a great April. He had an okay start to May, and then since then he has just fallen off. He made the All-Star team, and he had the wrist injury, and I can't even point to the wrist injury anymore because this is a guy who the last 3 seasons has had a great couple of first months, and the second half is just miserably bad for him. He has a hard time holding up. He did get it back together last September, so I'm hopeful, at least on our side of things, that he will be a menace in this series in October. But you also might want to look at Jose Ramirez's playoff record, too. He's got a pretty bad, the stats can be a little bit short samples, right? It's a small sample in the postseason. But Jose really has not had a ton of big hits in the postseason over the last several seasons. He had the home run against the Tampa Bay Rays in 2022 that gave him a win. But since his home run, I want to say against the Yankees in 2017, he just hasn't done a whole lot in the postseason. And if the Guardians have any chance to win, they're going to need a big series from Jose Ramirez. But everybody else in the lineup has been cold. Manzardo's had a rough stretch recently. We just talked about Kwan. And then, the bullpen isn't as deep as it was a year ago. How much can they rely on Cade Smith? How much can they rely on Hunter Gaddis? And who's going to be the third, fourth reliever? They got to kind of piece it together because they don't have the big 4 horsemen as they did a year ago. They're really down to 2 horsemen and the rest of the pieces. So the Guardians, the only way they're going to win this series, as they've been doing over the last month, is if the starting pitching comes out, pitches 6 or 7 innings, and allows 1 or 2 runs and gives themselves a chance to win, because I don't think the offense is going to explode. I know they scored 9 runs on Sunday, but they're just not going to explode unless another team makes a lot of mistakes. I almost feel like it'd be better for the Guardians, maybe even both teams, for the series to be in Detroit, because the Guardians are not a team that hits a ton of home runs, and you have all that room out there in Detroit to hit doubles and triples, and that might benefit the Guardians better. But we're playing in Cleveland because why not? The month of September was just ridiculous.
It was A lot of things. I have a lot of adjectives I could use to describe the month of September.
Ridiculous probably
Yeah.
wasn't the first one on your mind. You're like,
Yeah, right. And I'm not sure I could say the rest on air. So, I mean, weaknesses for the Tigers are pretty well documented over the last 4 weeks, right? And I think that even if you zoom out and you look at the whole season, I mean, they were the first team to 30, 40, 50, 60 wins. Like they were the best team in baseball for a solid 2-3 months of this season. And when that was happening, even then there was, okay, there's some clear like holes on this roster and it has to catch up with us at some point. Now, I didn't expect it to catch up in the form of like a 3-17 stretch to end the season, but I think that those were kind of magnified down the stretch. One is really just all starting pitching not named Tarik Skubal. Skubal is obviously one of the best pitchers the sport has to offer. And I know for Tigers fans watching, like Casey Mize, his last outing was absolutely fantastic. Casey Mize was an all-star this season. It had a lot of people drop out and he kind of filled in, but like he was an all-star. He had a pretty solid first half when he was healthy. But it's been an inconsistent major league career really as a whole for Casey Mize. Jack Flaherty has had an ERA over 4.5 pretty much the entire season. He's been giving up a lot of home runs this year. And then that's kind of it. Like Charlie Morton didn't even make it to the end of the season. That was a ridiculous trade. Chris Paddock is certainly not going to be a starter for this team in the postseason. Now, in this series, you only need 3, so I can pretty much tell you who those are going to be. But I think that is a big question mark, right? Even if you look at it and you are, a Cleveland fan and you go, okay, even if we lose game 1 to Skubal and he just does Skubal things and shoves, which clearly is not a guarantee. Again, you've won the last 2 games that he started, but even if he does those things, it's like, okay, well, in the other 2 games, they're going to throw out Jack Flaherty, who has had an ERA close to 5 for a solid 3 months of the season. And then Casey Mize, who for, again, a solid 8 weeks after the All-Star break had an ERA of like 6 or almost 7, and then it's turned it around again in the last few weeks. So that is a huge question mark. The bullpen is the biggest question mark. It's just not good. I mean, there's really no other way around it. They have Kyle Finnegan, who's been amazing, an incredible, easily the only good trade deadline acquisition this team made at the deadline this year. He's been fantastic. Will Vest has had a really, really solid year. Outside of that, I mean, it's complete shots in the dark. Like, it is a massive concern for this team. I mean, there's a chance that guys that spend a lot of the season in the minor leagues are going to be on this playoff roster in the bullpen because it's just thin as ice. Like they cannot, they do not have a deep bullpen put together. So that's a question mark. And then, yeah, I mean, we might as well just round the bases, no pun intended. Like the offense has been terrible in September. That's one where it's, we'll see. They have a large sample size of a lot of really good offense this season. Riley Greene ended with, 35, 36 home runs and over 111 RBIs. Like he that's good, but he also, his OPS fell all the way down to 800 and he had over 200 strikeouts this year. You have Torkelson and Kerry Carpenter have been really bad with clutch hitting lately. And yeah, the team as a whole, with runners in scoring position, have been abysmal in the entire month of September. So I think that is really, I just mentioned all 3 facets of a roster, but like that's the weird part about this season from the Tigers' perspective, right? Is it's like, okay, you have 4 months of incredible baseball, and then you have a month and a half of some of the worst baseball you'll ever see. And it's which team is going to show up more so than it is, how the roster is constructed.
It's mind-blowing to me that a year ago, these 2 teams probably had the best bullpens in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Because that was how the Tigers got to the playoffs behind Tarik Skubal, and the Guardians obviously did too. And the Tigers returned almost everybody from that bullpen. You got some inconsistencies because, bullpens are never the same year to year. And the Guardians, well, Yeah, we're just not going to talk about why their bullpen isn't as good a year ago. We have a joke here on Locked On Guardians because you didn't mention this one starting pitcher who's not going to pitch in the series, Alex Cobb. Do you know you guys paid $15 million to Alex Cobb?
Oh, I'm aware.
We talk about it all the time. It's become like someone every time we talk about Detroit is like that. We talk about free agent pitchers. Someone comments, "Have you guys talked about Alex Cobb and the fact the Tigers paid him $15 million?" I was like, "No, I don't think we've talked about that this year."
It's also a joke on our show, but it's not funny. We talk about it in a much less laughing tone. It is one of the biggest criticisms of the team this year. Yeah,
because you laugh so you don't cry. That's what we do here.
exactly.
Too.
No, that's
laugh so we don't
how
cry.
the whole month of September has really gone. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, that's all you can really do. All right, it's time to get down to it. What do we think is going to happen in the series? What are the keys? We'll break that all down next on the rest of this crossover edition of Locked On Guardians and Locked On Tigers.
Got to talk to y'all about our friends over at FanDuel. This is honestly a great series to head over to FanDuel and maybe scope out. You have a fantastic postseason baseball here. You also have the NFL season here as well, and FanDuel has offers you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. You pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. There's so many great features over at FanDuel. Gives you so many ways to play, right? You can build parlays, player props, even follow the live lines during games. It makes watching football and baseball more exciting when you've got a little bit of something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started.
Hey, if you're a baseball fan and you want to get coverage of the playoffs on YouTube or even on your audio apps like you can't get anywhere else, you want to check out MLB Game Night. We thank you for making Locked On Guardians, Locked On Tigers, Locked On MLB your first listen every day. For your second listen, find MLB Game Night. Every night, every game until the World Series champion is crowned. You can get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB or YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. I know my face will be over there all looking like this every night. I love when I do the post-game reactions on YouTube because it takes the thumbnail for you and you don't get to choose what the thumbnail is. So half the time it's me looking like this.
Right.
And you have no idea whether I'm euphoric or in agony.
Right, yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Very, very happy, or it could be disdain. We're not really sure.
Yes. Thank you for humbling me every day, YouTube. But that's where you can see all those reaction videos from Tigers, Guardians, not the Mets. I almost said Mets, not the Mets. The Reds, the Dodgers, the Padres, the Cubs, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and so on and so forth. Honestly, my prediction for this series, I think it comes down to starting pitching. Like, the Guardians' offense is not good. It's scrape and claw and see what happens and take advantage of mistakes. For the Tigers, I know the offense hasn't been very good this month, but you still got a lot of thumpers in that lineup, guys that can do damage. And the postseason, to me, more than anything, is it comes down to who hits the mistakes. If your pitcher makes a mistake, you got to hit a home run, because what we've seen in the past, the Guardians, is when a pitcher makes a mistake in the postseason, they're hitting singles and doubles and bunt base hits. And that mistake may not come around a second or third time. So when you get those mistake pitches, you got to hit them all out of the yard. And the Tigers can do that much better than the Guardians can. So even if these offenses were on even footing, I say it's going to come down to starting pitching, because both these teams have lighter bullpens than a year ago. I don't think the Guardians want to lean as heavily on their bullpen as they did last year. I think they want Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee to go as deep as they can. It's so hard to match up with Tarik Skubal. Like, you've just got to hope you get lucky and like they did last week against the errors and the infield hits and maybe let me ask you this. Is the key to beating Tarik Skubal bunting? Is it? Like, does he have John Lester couldn't throw to first base?
Right.
Does Tarik Skubal have a thing where you can't field bunts? Is that a thing?
No, it's not. Well, it was for one inning. I can tell you that. But
Yeah.
no, like historically, no. But I think that your assessment there is accurate. The way that I view this series is very whoever is going to win is winning in two. Like I really think that
Wow.
this is a series where okay, the Tigers go out there, Tarik shoves, and the offense from June and July shows up, and here we go. It's a big lead. You take game one, you're in the driver's seat. It's really hard to lose a series when you win a 3-game series when you win the first game. On the flip side, if you lose the Skubal start, you are hosed. Like from the Tigers' perspective, obviously, we are absolutely screwed if the Tigers lose game one and lose the start with Skubal and the offense doesn't show up. Again, they have not hit Williams or Bybee literally all calendar year. They both of those gentlemen have absolutely dominated the Detroit Tigers every single time they've taken the mound against them this year. So I have a really hard time, like, I maybe it sounds like oversimplified, and now naturally it'll be, it'll go into 15 innings in game 3, but like I really feel like
Please
this
no.
is a
I
really
think we can handle that.
yeah, right. I really feel like this is a situation where whoever wins game one is just in complete control. The Tigers just do not have the horsepower to, I don't know, or the reinforcements rather, to throw at an opponent in a 3-game series being down 0-1 and now being able to throw Skubal again the rest of the series. They just don't. And so I think that it would be a massive uphill battle in that regard. They've already been playing terrible baseball lately. I think that this really is a situation where you're going to find out pretty quickly which team is going to take the series, whether that's, good or bad for you as the listener.
Yeah, that's a good point. I really hadn't thought about it that way. I thought like the way this season has gone for both teams that I really thought this one was going to go the distance. And you're absolutely right. Whoever wins game one is in the driver's seat is going to feel pretty darn good about themselves. They haven't announced who's going to pitch game two, have they, for the Tigers? No. I haven't seen anywhere. So if I were the Tigers, I guess they can do either or depending on. Well, I guess they have to announce it by tomorrow anyway. They have to announce it by Tuesday afternoon. So the Guardians are going Gavin, Tanner Bybee, and in game 3 they're going Slade Cecconi. And the only reason I could think of them going for Slade Cecconi is the fact that the Tigers this year have a better offense against left-handed pitching, which to me is mind-blowing because you have Kerry Carpenter, Riley Greene, who don't hit lefties. And those are your two big mashers. But when you move in, Andy Ibanez and Wenzel Perez hits lefties better, and then
Jahmai Jones.
Jahmai Jones, who
925 OPS, Jahmai Jones, baby.
When the Tigers came to Cleveland back in July, I was at the Saturday night game, and I'm like, Jahmai Jones is on the Tigers, and he's leading off?
Right, yeah.
That was
with an OPS better than anyone else on the team by like 100 points, yeah.
That was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah,
and then you got Dingler, you got Torkelson. So it's funny to me the Tigers are better against lefties. So the only reason Joey Cantillo has been at least the third best starting pitcher on this team in the last month. So to me, it's surprising he's not pitching. And the only thing I could think of is that Cantillo pitched against them last week. Cecconi didn't. And the Tigers, for some reason, are better against lefties. And that gives the Guardians some left-handed bullpen options to help out there. I don't know. I think this thing's going the distance. I really do. I could see the Tigers winning game 1. I could see the Guardians winning game 2, and this thing in game 3, God knows where it goes. If I was the Tigers, I would throw Jack Flaherty in game 2 because I think you have to assume you don't want to assume, but I think you have to have the confidence that we're going to take game 1 because we have Tarik Skubal out there, and like you said, the only pitcher that's even on the same plane as him is Paul Skeens. You have to believe you're going to win game 1. And if I'm an outsider, I'm looking at Casey Mize versus Slade Cecconi, and I'm thinking Casey Mize can dominate the Guardians. He can do enough. That's because nobody can do game theory. We talk about game theory where you save your ace for game 2 against the team's second best pitcher. Yeah, no. You can't do that in the series.
You can't do that in a 3-game series, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for the Guardians, I will take Bybee over Jack Flaherty, if I'm being
Mm-hmm.
honest, at least over the last month.
Oh, I would too. Yeah.
And that's where I think the Guardians' advantage is. But game 3, I would take Mize over Slade Ciccone. So
For sure.
I think it's whoever's, if this goes to 3 games, which I think it will, I think it's whoever's bullpen is not gassed from game 1 and 2. They win that game. I think that's what it comes down to. And it's going to come down to whose left-handed relievers do the best too, because the Tigers aren't as deep as with lefties as they were a year ago, and neither are the Guardians. And guess what? Both those teams have really good left-handed hitters, even though the Tigers offense does hit lefties better.
Yeah, no, I think that's honestly a fantastic breakdown. I think you could absolutely be right there. I mean, you mentioned the righty lefty in the matchups. One thing that we'll end on is just if you are not a fan of either of these teams, just sit back and enjoy the managerial war that goes on. Because when I'm not kidding, and obviously partially biased, but I genuinely think these are the 2 best managers in baseball. And I think that when they go up against each other, it is awesome. Like, for a baseball junkie and a baseball nerd that loves, the decision making behind that, you will not see 2 managers just try to outsmart the other one more than when Vogt and Hinch go up against each other. It is absolutely electric. And I think that that's a really, that on top of it being a 3-game playoff series, I think could lead to a lot of really fun decisions and interesting, think pieces that we can say now. And then, after the series, will be, instead of think pieces, we'll be calling them, the dumbest decision ever. But I think that it'll be a really fun series in, for that matchup ball that you mentioned as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I said, throw the records out. And I think for both these teams, neither of them is going to panic, because the Tigers, I know they had the slide in September, but they still got in. They did enough to get in, and the Guardians somehow came all the way back. And even when it was hard at the end, they didn't panic either. And these 2 teams know each other well, so it's going to be a fantastic chess match. And
that's the biggest point, right? It is like,
there's no
more
secret
than anything else. It's like the Guardians are the hottest team in baseball. The Tigers are the coldest team in baseball, right? You're going up against each other. It is a situation where they have played each other so much, and not only just, that the teams are literally facing the exact same pitchers have gone up against each other every single time. Like, this is such a repeatable thing that could lead to, offenses getting completely shut out. It could also lead to, really good pitchers giving up high run totals because hitters have seen their stuff for, 4 times in a month or whatever it is. So I think that that's a great point too.
Yep. And if there's one thing I've learned about September and this Guardians team is every time you think you're making sense of something, you don't know anything about baseball. Like,
right.
It just goes the opposite direction of what you think it's going to go. All right. So I'm going to do it first before we log off. And I'm going to say Guardians in 3. And I am going to probably regret that.
Well, I'll say something I regret.
Tigers in 2.
We can both say stuff we regret. I'll say Tigers in 2. And again, that's very far from a confidence play or a disrespect play. It's quite literally just, if you go up game 1 with Skubal, I think you have the upper hand. You can kind of suffocate your opponent there in game 2. So I think that it really, to be honest, I think those might be the 2 most likely outcomes. So we'll see.
Yeah, Tigers in 2 or Guards in 3. All right, thanks for tuning in to this crossover edition of Locked On Guardians, Locked On Tigers. Make sure you subscribe, leave some friendly Apple Podcast reviews as well. Help people find the show, share with a friend, all that good stuff. We appreciate all the support. In the meantime, here on Locked On Guardians, we say go Guardians, go. What do you got, Scott, to lead us out?
Literally, just go Tigers.
Literally go Tigers. No extra innings. Dear God, please.